Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Jenny Halpin, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Private Ashley Chivers. This evening, we are honoured to acknowledge Mr. Wayne McNee, Chairman of Legacy Australia, Mr. Graham Boyd, CEO of Legacy Australia, and the accompanying delegation. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of the ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Australian Christian College Southlands from Albany, Western Australia. Now, if you are able, could I invite you to stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
If you require a seat, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, flowers of the forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Joseph Burt Pagan. Joseph Burt Pagan was born in 1892 to David and Emma Pagan of Port Melbourne. He was one of 10 children, only 6 of whom survived infancy. He was the eldest son among those who survived. Joseph attended Knott Street School in Port Melbourne. He joined the Naval Cadets and after leaving school was a seaman. He was in Adelaide when Britain declared war on Germany in August 1914. At the end of that month, Pagan volunteered for service in the Australian Imperial Force. He was accepted and joined the newly raised 10th Australian Infantry Battalion. After brief initial training, the battalion embarked on transport ship Ascanius in October and joined the first convoy carrying Australian and New Zealand troops to the war. Pagan and his unit disembarked in Egypt and continued their training in the large army camps there. In March 1915, the men embarked on transport ships ahead of the planned landing on Gallipoli. On the 25th of April, Pagan's company was among the first men to land on the peninsula under heavy fire. The 10th Battalion was among those who captured important ground on the first day, allowing a beachhead to be established. Pagan would remain on Gallipoli until the withdrawal of all troops in December 1915. He was promoted to the rank of Lance Corporal in September, but later reverted to private at his own request. After the British commanders decided to withdraw from the peninsula, the Australians returned to the army camps in Egypt. Pagan had difficulties abiding by military discipline and was punished multiple times for serious infractions during his service. In March 1916, the 10th Battalion sailed for France, and its first major action was in the Somme Valley at the village of Pozières. It was a shocking introduction to the industrial warfare of the Western Front. During the advance to the front lines in mid-July, the battalion came under a German artillery barrage of both high explosive and poison gas shells. On the 25th of July, 1916, the unit was in frontline trenches at Pozières when Pagan was killed in action. How he was killed is not recorded, but the battalion had come under artillery barrage that day, so it is possible that he was struck by shell fragments. Private Pagan was 24 years old. Pagan was buried near where he fell, but after the war, graves from the area were exhumed and reburied. Today, his remains lie in Serre Road Cemetery No. 2, near Beaumont-Hamel in France, alongside more than 7,000 British and Commonwealth soldiers. His younger brother also joined the Australian Imperial Force. Driver Leslie George Pagan served in the same battalion as Joseph, survived the war, and returned to Australia in 1919. Private Joseph Burt Pagan is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Joseph Burt Pagan, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.